The Great Council of the Galactic Federation had been meeting for 1,000 years. It was the oldest political body in the known galaxy. 47 species sat on its ruling chambers. Every decision that mattered for civilized space was made in this room. And for 1,000 years, every single member of the council had agreed on one thing. Earth was dead. Humanity was extinct. The blue planet on the outer rim of the galaxy was nothing more than a graveyard now, and the species that had once lived there was simply gone. This had been the truth for 1,000 years. It was written in every history book. It was taught in every school. The story of humanity was a cautionary tale, a warning told to young students about what happened when a species was too aggressive, too divided, too quick to fight. Humanity had destroyed itself, the story went. They had been on the edge of joining the galactic community when their own internal wars consumed them. By the time the Federation's first contact ships arrived at Earth, there was nothing left. No survivors, no civilization, just a planet covered in ruins and the silence of mass extinction. That had been 1,000 years ago. The first contact ships had returned to the Federation with their reports. The Federation had mourned, briefly, for the lost species. Then they had moved on. Other young species needed help. The galaxy was vast. There was no time to dwell on what had been lost. Earth was placed under permanent quarantine. The blue planet was declared a memorial site. No ship was allowed to land. No expedition was allowed to study it. The few species who tried to visit Earth out of curiosity were turned away by automated buoys that the Federation had placed in orbit. The buoys spoke in many languages. Their message was always the same. This is a graveyard. Let the dead rest. For 1,000 years, the dead had rested. The galaxy had moved on. Earth had become a story, a legend. A name in history books that very few people remembered to read. Until today, Speaker Velthorn of the High Council stood at the central podium of the Great Chamber. He was old, even by the standards of his species. The Velthari were a race of long-lived beings, with silver skin and gentle eyes. They had served as the speakers of the Federation Council for the past 3 centuries because no other species was patient enough to manage the endless debates that filled this chamber. Speaker Velthorn was 312 standard years old. He had been alive for almost a third of the time that Earth had been silent. He had read every history book about humanity. He had visited the orbital buoys around the blue planet many times during his long career, on ceremonial visits to honor the dead. He believed the story. He had always believed the story, until this morning, when his communications office had brought him a transmission that should not exist. Honored members of the Council, Speaker Velthorn began. His voice carried easily through the chamber. The translation fields rendered his words into 47 different languages simultaneously. I have called this emergency session for a reason that will seem impossible to many of you. I am going to play a recording for you. Please listen carefully. After you have heard it, we will discuss what it means. The chamber fell silent. The 47 ambassadors leaned forward in their seats. The Velthorn never called emergency sessions. In 300 years, he had called perhaps a dozen of them. Each one had been for matters of catastrophic galactic importance. Speaker Velthorn pressed a button on his podium. The chamber's main speakers activated. A voice came through. It was a human voice, speaking in galactic standard. The accent was unfamiliar. The cadence was strange, but it was unmistakably a human voice. A voice from a species that had been dead for 1,000 years. This is Earth Defense Command transmitting on the Federation emergency frequency. We are requesting assistance. We have detected a hostile fleet approaching our position. The fleet does not respond to our hailing attempts. We have attempted communication for the past 6 standard hours. We have received no response. The hostile fleet has now entered our outer system. We anticipate combat within the next 12 hours. We request that the Federation send observers. We do not request military support. We will handle the situation ourselves. We simply request that the Federation observe what is about to happen. We believe you should see. Earth Defense Command out. The recording ended. The chamber was silent. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The ambassadors stared at the speakers, then at each other, then at Speaker Velthorn. Their faces showed shock, disbelief, confusion. Some showed fear. A few showed something that might have been hope. Ambassador Krelth of the Bronthar Empire was the first to speak. He stood up slowly. His large frame towered over most of the chamber. The Bronthar were a heavy species, with thick gray skin and 4 arms. Krelth was a soldier turned politician. His face was crossed with old battle scars. "Speaker Velthorn," he said. His voice was deep and skeptical. "This is a hoax. Someone is playing a joke on the Federation. Humanity is dead. We have known this for 1,000 years. Ambassador Krelth," Velthorn said calmly. "I had the same reaction this morning when I first heard the recording. I assumed it was a hoax. I had my technical team verify the source of the transmission. They have done so. The transmission did indeed come from Earth. It was sent from a transmitter located on the surface of the planet. The signal was strong. It was clear. It was authentic. That is impossible." "Yes, Ambassador. It should be impossible. But it happened." Another ambassador stood up. This was Selena Vorith of the Farron Confederacy. She was a small, elegant being with feathered skin and large eyes. Her species had been part of the Federation for 6 centuries. "Speaker Velthorn," she said, "if the transmission is real, what does it mean? Are you suggesting that humanity has survived? That there are still humans on Earth?" "I am suggesting nothing yet, Ambassador. I am simply reporting what we have detected. The transmission claims to be from Earth Defense Command. It speaks of a hostile fleet approaching their position. It requests Federation observers. I have no explanation for what this means. That is why I have called this session. We need to decide how to respond." A third ambassador stood up. This was Ambassador Drax of the Korthian hegemony. The Korthians were a young species, only 2 centuries old in the Federation. Their ambassador was relatively young by political standards. He was also notoriously skeptical of anything that disrupted his preferred view of the universe. "Speaker Velthorn, I demand that we treat this transmission as the hoax it clearly is. Someone has somehow placed a transmitter on Earth. They are pretending to be humanity. Why they are doing this, I do not know. But humanity is dead. We have all agreed on this for 1,000 years. The science is settled. Whoever is sending this message is a fraud, and we should not waste this council's time discussing them." A fourth voice spoke. This came from the highest tier of the chamber where the most senior ambassadors sat. It was Ambassador Farith of the Aldorian Imperium. The Aldorian were one of the oldest species in the Federation. They had been part of the Council since its founding 1,000 years ago. Farith himself was 800 years old. He remembered the original first contact missions to Earth. "Ambassador Drax," Farith said. His voice was old and dry, like wind across stones. "You were not alive when humanity was thought to have died. I was. I was a young diplomat at the time. I served on one of the first contact missions to Earth. I helped survey the ruins." The chamber turned to listen. Farath was the only living member of the Council who had actually been on Earth 1,000 years ago. His word carried enormous weight. "I will tell you something," Farath continued. "Something I have not spoken of in 9 centuries. Something I have never written in any official report." "What is that, Ambassador?" Velthorn asked. Farath was quiet for a long moment. He seemed to be considering his words carefully. "When we surveyed Earth 1,000 years ago," he said slowly, "we did not find as many bodies as we expected. We found ruins. We found destroyed cities. We found evidence of massive warfare. but we did not find enough remains. Humanity had numbered approximately 20 billion at the time of their last galactic transmissions. We found perhaps 2 billion bodies on the surface. We assumed the rest had been vaporized in the nuclear exchanges. Some had been buried under collapsed structures. Others had simply decomposed in the long centuries after their wars ended. We made these assumptions because they were the most reasonable explanations. But they were assumptions. What are you saying, Ambassador? I am saying that we never proved humanity was extinct. We assumed it. We saw the ruins, and we made the natural conclusion. But we did not search every cave on Earth. We did not search every underground bunker. We did not search every deep ocean trench. We did not search the inside of every mountain. We accepted the obvious conclusion, and we moved on, because the work of the Federation continued, and we had other species to help. The chamber was very quiet now. Ambassador Farath, Velthorn said carefully, are you suggesting that some humans may have survived? That they may have been hiding for the past 1,000 years? I am suggesting, Farath said, that we should not be entirely surprised if it turns out we were wrong. Humanity was a species that did many strange things. They were paranoid. They built shelters everywhere. Their militaries had countless redundancies. They had been preparing for nuclear war for centuries before their final conflict. If any species in the galaxy could have survived their own extinction, it would have been humanity. They were obsessed with survival. It was almost a religious belief for them. Ambassador Krelth made a low sound in his throat. Even if some survived, what could they possibly do now? Their technology must be 1,000 years out of date. They would have been forced underground for centuries. Whatever they had then, they have lost most of it. They would be primitive savages now, scratching out a living in the ruins of their old civilization. Perhaps, Firth said, or perhaps not. We do not know. That is the problem, Ambassador. We do not know. We have not looked. For 1,000 years we have not looked. We respected the quarantine. We kept the buoys in place. We let the dead rest, as we said we would. But what if the dead were not entirely dead? What if there are humans down there right now who have been hiding from us all this time? Who have built something we cannot imagine, in the silence we never thought to investigate? A new voice cut into the discussion. It came from Ambassador Vrek of the Tolarian Republic. The Tolarians were a small species, only 15 members in the Federation, but they had a reputation for sharp thinking and direct speech. Speaker Velthorn, Vrek said. There is something the Council has not asked yet. The transmission mentioned a hostile fleet, a fleet approaching Earth. If humanity has been hiding on Earth for 1,000 years, who is attacking them now? And how does the attacker know about them? The chamber went silent again. This was an excellent question. A question no one had thought to ask. Speaker Velthorn frowned. Ambassador Vrek, that is correct. The transmission mentioned a hostile fleet. We assumed it was a hypothetical situation, but it is not. The transmission was sent because they were under attack. By someone. Right now. So the question is, by whom? And how does the attacker know that Earth still has anyone left to attack? Ambassador Farath added, because the Federation has been operating on the assumption that humanity is extinct for 1,000 years. If the attacker knows that humanity is still alive, then the attacker has information that the Federation does not have. The implications of this hit the chamber slowly. The ambassadors looked at each other. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked frightened. Speaker Velthorn looked grim. There is a third species involved in this, Velthorn said. Or perhaps several species. They have somehow learned that humanity survived. They have somehow known about Earth in a way that the Federation has not. They have chosen to attack rather than communicate. This is concerning, Farath said. It is more than concerning, Krelth said. It is alarming. If a species has been operating in our space, knowing things we do not know, then we have a security breach of catastrophic proportions. We need to send a fleet to Earth immediately. We need to find out what is happening. Anadi. The transmission requested observers, Velthorn said, not military support. The humans, if they are humans, explicitly said they will handle the situation themselves. Even better, Krelth said. We send a small observation fleet. We do not interfere. We simply watch. We gather intelligence. We learn what is happening, and we report back. Speaker Velthorn looked around the chamber. Is the Council in agreement? Shall we dispatch an observation fleet to Earth? There was murmuring. There was uncertainty. But after a few minutes of debate, the vote was called. The Council voted 42-5 in favor of sending an observation fleet. Even Ambassador Drax, who had insisted the transmission was a hoax, voted yes. He wanted to be there to laugh when the fraud was exposed. Very well, Velthorn said. I will dispatch the observation fleet immediately. Admiral Threlth of the Federation Defense Forces will command it. We will send 20 ships. They will not engage in combat. They will simply observe. Council session is adjourned. We will reconvene when the observation fleet returns with their report. The ambassadors filed out of the chamber. Many of them were already speaking on their communicators, reporting what had happened to their home governments. Within hours, the news would spread across the entire Federation. A transmission had come from Earth. Humanity might still be alive. A hostile fleet was attacking them. The galaxy was about to change in ways no one had predicted. Speaker Velthorn stood alone in the empty chamber after the ambassadors had left. He looked at the recording device on his podium. He pressed the button one more time. The voice played again, the human voice, speaking words that should not exist, from a species that should be dead. He listened carefully. He had not noticed it the first time. But now, in the quiet of the empty chamber, he heard something in the voice. Something he had missed during the political theater of the council session. The voice was not asking for help. Not really. The voice was warning the Federation. The phrasing was specific. We do not request military support. We will handle the situation ourselves. We simply request that the Federation observe. We believe you should see. We believe you should see. Velthorn played the recording one more time. He listened to those words. We believe you should see. The Earth Defense Command did not want help. They wanted witnesses. They wanted the Federation to watch what was about to happen. They wanted the galaxy to see something. What were they about to show the galaxy? Velthorn shut off the recording. He walked slowly out of the great chamber. He had a very bad feeling about what was coming. A very bad feeling indeed. Admiral Threlth of the Federation Defense Forces was a Ferran warrior who had served in the Federation military for 2 centuries. He was a careful, methodical officer who had never lost a ship. His specialty was reconnaissance. The Council could not have chosen a better commander for an observation mission. 20 Federation warships emerged from faster than light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Threlth's flagship, the Diplomat, led the formation. It was a sleek, elegant vessel built for speed and information gathering rather than combat. The other 19 ships fanned out around it in a defensive formation. They were prepared to flee if anything dangerous happened. They were not prepared to fight. Status report, Threlth said. He stood at the center of the Diplomat's command bridge. His feathered crest was raised in alertness. Admiral, long-range sensors are picking up multiple ship signatures in the inner system, reported his sensor officer, a young Tolarian named Vreni. I count approximately 40 hostile vessels. They are arranged in an attack formation around the 3rd planet, which our charts identify as Earth. I am also detecting unknown energy signatures in orbit around Earth itself. The signatures are not from any technology in our database. Display the situation. The main view screen activated. Threlth studied the tactical map. The 40 hostile ships were arranged in a tight formation. They were preparing to enter atmospheric range. They appeared to be discussing tactics among themselves. Their fleet structure was disciplined, military. These were not pirates. These were a proper navy from a proper civilization. Can you identify the species, Vren? Working on it, Admiral. Their ship designs are not in our primary databases. Cross-referencing with older records. Stand by. A pause. Admiral, I have a match. The ships belong to the Crethar Dominion. The bridge fell silent. The Crethar Dominion. Threlth knew the name. Every officer in the Federation Defense Forces knew the name. The Crethar had been a major regional power 3,000 years ago. They had been part of the early Federation, before the Federation had its current name. Then, 1,500 years ago, they had withdrawn from galactic politics. They had retreated it into their own systems. They had cut off communication with the Federation. They had become isolationists, distrustful of outside species. The Federation had let them go. There had been no reason to pursue them. The galaxy was large enough for everyone, but the Crethar had not been heard from. In 15 centuries, their ships had not been seen outside their own territory, and yet, here they were, 40 warships in Earth's system, attacking a species that the Federation had thought was extinct. Vren, Threlth said, how is this possible? The Crethar have not been outside their own space in over 1,000 years. Unknown, Admiral. But they are here now, and they are clearly preparing to attack Earth. Open a communication channel to the Crethar fleet. Channel opening. There was a delay. The Crethar were taking their time about responding. Eventually, the screen activated. A Crethar officer appeared. The Crethar were tall, gaunt beings with pale white skin and long fingers. Their eyes were entirely black, without visible pupils. The officer wore an elaborate gold and white uniform. His expression was cold. Federation vessel, the Crethar officer said. His voice came through the translator as deeply formal and slightly contemptuous. I am Fleet Commander Vorath of the Crethar Dominion. State your purpose here. Fleet Commander Vorath. I am Admiral Threlth of the Federation Defense Forces. We have come to observe the situation around the third planet of this system, Earth, as we call it. We have received a distress call from the planet. We are here to investigate. There should be no distress call. This system is a memorial site. All Federation ships are forbidden to enter. That is correct, Fleet Commander. We are aware of the quarantine. We are not here in violation of it. We have received an emergency transmission and are here in response to that transmission. The transmission claimed to come from Earth Defense Command. Vorath's face did not change, but Threlth noticed something. The Crethar officer's long fingers tightened slightly on the arms of his command chair. Threlth had spent 2 centuries reading body language across many species. He recognized tension when he saw it. There is no Earth Defense Command, Vorath said. Humanity is extinct, and yet your fleet is here. 40 warships, arranged in an attack formation, around an empty planet. Care to explain, Fleet Commander? There was a long pause. Vorath stared at Threlth through the screen. His black eyes were unreadable. Admiral Threlth, the Crethar Dominion has been managing a private matter in this system for some time. The Federation is not authorized to interfere. I request that you withdraw immediately and return to your own space. I am afraid I cannot do that, Fleet Commander. I have direct orders from the Federation Council. I am to observe. I will not interfere, but I will not withdraw either. I will report whatever happens here back to the Council. Another long pause. Vorath was clearly weighing his options. He was angry. Threlth could see that clearly now. The Crethar officer was furious that the Federation had arrived. But he could not openly fight Federation ships. That would be an act of war against the entire Federation. Even the Krethar Dominion, isolationist as they were, would not risk that. Very well, Admiral. Observe if you must. But you will see nothing of interest. There is nothing on Earth except old ruins and ancient dust. Whatever transmission you received was either a malfunction in your equipment or a deliberate hoax by some unknown party. The Krethar Dominion is here for our own reasons, and those reasons are not the business of the Federation. The screen went dark. The communication had ended. Threlth turned to his bridge crew. They were all watching him with concerned expressions. Vrene, have we received any further transmissions from Earth? Negative, Admiral. The original transmissions was a single burst. We have detected no further communications from the planet's surface. Continue monitoring all frequencies. I want to know the moment anyone on that planet sends another signal. Yes, Admiral. Threlth walked to the view screen. He looked at Earth on the display. The blue planet was beautiful. Even from this distance, he could see the white clouds, the brown continents, the deep blue oceans. It was a stunningly beautiful world. He could understand why humanity had loved it so much, why they had fought wars over it, why they would have done anything to protect it if any of them were still alive. Helm, Threlth said. Hold position. We will observe from here. Yes, Admiral. For 3 hours, nothing happened. The Krethar fleet held position around Earth. The Federation observation fleet held position at a safe distance. Both fleets watched each other. Both fleets waited, and then, suddenly, everything changed. Admiral, Vreni called out. Her voice was sharp with urgency. I am detecting massive energy buildups from Earth's orbit. Multiple sources. The energy signatures are growing exponentially. What are they? Unknown, Admiral. I have never seen energy patterns like this. The buildup is happening too fast for any technology I am familiar with. Threlth turned to the view screen. He stared at Earth. And then, around the planet, the sky began to light up. It was not an explosion. It was not weapons fire. It was something else. Something stranger. Around Earth, in low orbit, structures began to appear. They had not been there a moment ago. They simply faded into existence, like ships becoming visible after their cloaking fields shut down. But these were not ships. These were stations. Massive stations. Each one the size of a small moon. Threlth counted them. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. There were 47 of them. 47 enormous structures, ringing Earth like a crown of fortresses. By the ancestors, Vrene whispered. Admiral, those are weapon platforms. Each one is armed with weapon systems I cannot identify. The power readings are off the scale. Each platform has the firepower of an entire Federation fleet. Threlth could not speak for a moment. 47 weapon platforms, hidden in orbit around Earth. For 1,000 years, invisible, silent. Waiting, the Krethar fleet had seen them too. Threlth saw the alien vessels begin to scramble into defensive formations. They had not expected this. They had thought they were attacking a defenseless planet. They had thought they were going to find easy targets on the surface. They had been completely wrong. The Krethar flagship attempted to send a communication. Threlth's bridge intercepted it. He listened in as Vorath spoke desperately into his communicator. Krethar Command, this is Vorath. We have been deceived. The planet is not undefended. There are 47 heavy weapon platforms in orbit. Repeat, 47 heavy weapon platforms. Their firepower exceeds anything in our records. We require immediate reinforcement. We require the communication cut off, because at that moment, the 47 weapon platforms opened fire. What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. Beams of pure white energy lanced out from the platforms. The beams did not look like any weapon Threlth had ever seen. They did not behave like any weapon he understood. They moved through space in straight lines, but they curved when they needed to. They tracked their targets perfectly. They They struck Crethar ships with absolute precision. The Crethar shields did nothing. The beams passed through them as if the shields were not even there. The Crethar armor did nothing. The beams passed through the armor as if it was paper. The beams cut Crethar ships into pieces, not by exploding them, by simply slicing them apart, section by section, methodically. Like a butcher cutting meat, within 90 seconds, all 40 Crethar warships had been destroyed. Threlth watched in absolute silence. His entire bridge crew stood frozen. They had just witnessed the most one-sided military engagement in galactic history. 40 advanced warships from a major regional Wampor had been eliminated in less time than it took to make a cup of tea, by weapons that should not exist, from platforms that should not exist. Around a planet that should be dead, a voice came over the communication channel. Federation's observation fleet. This is Earth Defense Command. We thank you for your patience in observing this matter. The hostile force has been neutralized. We would like to communicate directly with your commanding officer. Please prepare to receive a delegation. Threlth stared at the speaker. He could not speak for a long moment. Admiral? Vren prompted gently. Threlth shook himself. Yes, yes. Open the channel. Acknowledge the request. Tell them we will receive their delegation. Yes, Admiral. Within 15 minutes, a small vessel detached from one of the weapon platforms and flew toward the diplomat. The vessel was elegant, sleek, made of some kind of dark metal that absorbed light. It approached calmly, without hostility. It docked with the diplomat's main shuttle bay. Threlth went to greet the delegation. He brought his senior officers with him. They stood in the shuttle bay as the vessel's airlock opened. 3 humans stepped out. They were tall, taller than the humans of 1,000 years ago had been. According to the records, ancient humans had averaged about 170 centimeters, 70 centimeters in height. These humans were closer to 200 centimeters. Their skin was paler than the records had suggested. Their eyes were larger. Their movements were graceful, controlled. But they were unmistakably human, the lead human, a woman with silver hair and steady gray eyes, stepped forward. She was wearing a simple dark uniform with no visible insignia. She looked at Threlth and bowed slightly. Admiral Threlth, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. She spoke perfect galactic standard. I am Commander Sarah Vincent of Earth Defense Command. Thank you for coming, Commander Vincent. I am honored to meet you. The Federation believed your species was extinct. Vincent smiled. It was a tired smile. The smile of someone who had heard this many times. Yes, Admiral? We know. We have known what the Federation believed for the entire 1,000 years. We have been listening to your communications since the day your first contact ships left our system. Evi. You have been listening to us. For 1,000 years? Yes, Admiral. We have been listening. We have been watching. We have been preparing. May we sit down somewhere comfortable? I have a great deal to tell you, and what I am about to say will take some time. Threlth led Vincent and her 2 companions to the diplomat's main conference room. They sat across from him at the long table. He offered them refreshments. They politely declined. Then Commander Vincent began to speak. Admiral Threlth, 1,000 years ago, humanity faced extinction. This is true. We had fought a series of devastating wars. Our planet was nearly destroyed. Our population was reduced from 20 billion to less than 2 billion. We were on the edge of complete societal collapse. We barely held ourselves together. And then your first contact ships arrived. They surveyed our planet. They saw the destruction. They saw the ruins. They saw the bodies. And they came to a reasonable conclusion. They concluded that humanity was extinct, or so close to extinction that we could be considered functionally gone. Why did you not communicate with them? Why did you not tell them you had survived? Vincent was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was even quieter than before. Because, Admiral, we had been watching them as they surveyed Earth. We had been listening to their communications. We had been studying their language, and we did not like what we saw. Bagya, what do you mean? Your first contact protocols were not designed to help young species. They were designed to absorb young species, to bring them into the Federation, to make them part of your community, your political structures, your economic systems. This is not malicious. The Federation believes this is the right way to operate. The Federation believes that young species need guidance. The Federation believes that joining the Federation is the natural progression for any civilization. But we did not want to be absorbed, Admiral. We had just survived a catastrophic series of wars among ourselves. We had nearly destroyed our own species. We were not ready to be absorbed into a larger political entity. We needed time. We needed to recover. We needed to figure out who we were going to be in the aftermath of our self-destruction, Adarawa. So we made a decision. We decided to let your ships believe that we were dead. We hid the survivors. We took our remaining population underground, into the bunkers and shelters we had built for our wars. We built more shelters, deeper ones. We took our knowledge with us, our science, our technology, our culture, our history. We hid everything, and we let the Federation declare us extinct. For 1,000 years, we have been underground, Admiral. For 1,000 years, we have been building, recovering, growing, healing from the wounds we inflicted on ourselves. We have rebuilt our population to 40 billion. We have developed technologies that exceed anything in the Federation by significant margins. We have built infrastructure that you cannot detect because it is hidden deep beneath the surface of Earth, beneath the oceans, in the asteroid belt, on the Moon, on Mars, throughout the entire Sol system. We have been a hidden civilization, Admiral. While the Federation thought we were dead, we have grown into something that is, by some measurements, more advanced than the Federation itself. We have just been quiet about it. Threlth was silent for a long time. He tried to process what he had just heard. Commander Vincent, why are you telling me this now? After 1,000 years of silence, why have you broken your secrecy? Because of the Krethar, Admiral. The Krethar, yes. The Krethar discovered our survival approximately 200 years ago. We do not know exactly how. We believe one of their scout ships, on a private exploration mission, detected energy signatures from our underground civilization. They made the connection. They realized that humanity was not extinct. They realized that we were hiding. And what did they do with this information? Vincent's expression hardened. They decided to use it for blackmail, Admiral. The Krethar approached us secretly. They told us that they knew our secret. They told us that they would tell the Federation everything unless we paid them tribute. Resources, technology, knowledge. They wanted everything we had developed in our long silence. And you refused, we refused. The Krethar did not believe we could resist them. They thought we were weak. They thought we had spent 1,000 years cowering in caves, not building strength. They underestimated us, as so many species have done throughout our history. For 200 years, the Krethar have been raiding our outer system, stealing our supplies, attacking our outpost stations on the Moon and Mars. We have responded carefully, limited engagements, minimum force. We did not want to draw the attention of the Federation. We did not want to break our silence. So we tolerated the Krethar raids. We absorbed the losses. We focused on our own development at Dida. But 6 months ago, the Krethar finally lost patience. They sent a fleet. The fleet you just saw. They decided they would invade Earth itself. Take what they wanted by force. End our hiding once and for all. And so you broke your silence. Yes, Admiral. We broke our silence, because the time has come. We have been hidden for 1,000 years. We are no longer a recovering species. We are no longer a weak species. We are not what your first contact ship saw a millennium ago. We are something else now. Something the galaxy has not seen before, and it is time for the galaxy to know us as we truly are. Threlth thought about this for a long time. Then he asked the question that mattered most. Commander Vincent, what does humanity want from the Federation, now that you have revealed yourselves? Vincent smiled. It was a small smile, a tired smile, but it was also somehow sad. Admiral Threlth, humanity does not want anything from the Federation. We do not seek membership. We do not seek alliances. We do not seek protection. We do not seek trade agreements, though we are open to trade if it serves our interests. We do not seek your help in any way. Then, what do you want? We want recognition. We want the Federation to acknowledge that we exist. We want you to update your records. We want you to remove the quarantine around Earth. We want you to inform every member species in the Federation that humanity has survived, and that we are now a peer species to the major civilizations of the galaxy. Abiyi. And then what? And then we want to be left alone, as we have wanted from the beginning. We will not interfere with Federation business. We expect the Federation to not interfere with ours. We have 1,000 years of catching up to do with the galaxy. We will do it on our own terms. We will not be guided by the Federation. We will not be absorbed by the Federation. We will be ourselves, an independent civilization, and we will conduct our own affairs. And if the Federation does not agree, Vincent's smile faded. Admiral, I do not say this to threaten you. I say it as a simple statement of fact. You have just seen what our weapon platforms can do. Those platforms are only the smallest part of our military capabilities. We have ships. We have soldiers. We have technologies that you have not even imagined yet. If the Federation chooses to come for us, we will defend ourselves. We do not want this. We have never wanted this. But we will not be taken. We will not be absorbed. We will not be conquered. Not now. Not ever. Threlth nodded slowly. I understand, Commander. I will take your message to the Federation Council. I will report what I have seen. I will recommend that the Federation accept your terms. Thank you, Admiral. I appreciate your reasonable approach. There is one more thing I should tell you. What is that? The Krethar Dominion is going to be a problem, Admiral. They know we exist. They have known for 200 years. They have just lost 40 warships to us. They will not forget. They will not forgive. They will come back, probably with their entire military, when they have rebuilt. And they will try to destroy us, because they know that if humanity is revealed to the galaxy, the Krethar will be exposed as the species that knew about us and tried to blackmail us. They will face consequences from the Federation. They will lose what little respect they still have in the galactic community. So the Krethar must destroy us, or we must destroy them. There is no middle ground anymore. The blackmail relationship that has existed for 2 centuries is over. Whatever happens next will be war. Threlth thought about this. Commander Vincent, if the Krethar attack again, the Federation will support humanity. The Krethar have broken galactic law in many ways. Their actions against you, their secrecy, their attempt to blackmail a sovereign species, all of these are crimes. The Federation will recognize your right to defend yourselves. We may even provide support if you wish it. We do not need support, Admiral. But we appreciate the offer of recognition. That is what we need. Recognition, legitimacy, the right to defend ourselves openly, without having to hide what we are. You will have that, Commander. I will see to it personally. Vincent stood up. So did her 2 companions. They had not spoken throughout the meeting, but they had watched everything carefully. Threlth realized that they were probably bodyguards, or perhaps observers, or perhaps both. Admiral Threlth, Vincent said, thank you for your time. We will await the Federation's response. Please give my regards to Speaker Velthorn. I have followed his political career with great interest over the past 3 centuries. He has been a wise speaker, Adr. You know Speaker Velthorn? I know everyone in the Federation Council, Admiral. We have been watching for 1,000 years. We know your politics better than most of your own member species do. We have been waiting for the right moment to reveal ourselves. We chose this moment carefully. Vincent and her companions walked back to their ship. They boarded. The ship detached from the Diplomat and returned to one of the weapon platforms. Threlth stood in the shuttle bay for a long time after they had left. He was thinking. He was processing. He was trying to understand what he had just witnessed, a species of 40 billion people, hidden underground for 1,000 years. With technology more advanced than the Federation, with weapons that could destroy fleets in seconds, with knowledge of every Federation member species, gained from 1,000 years of patient observation, and they wanted nothing from the Federation except to be left alone. It was almost reassuring, in a way. They could have done so much worse. They could have come out of hiding with conquest in mind. They could have declared war on the Federation. With their technology, they might have won, but they did not want to conquer anyone. They just wanted to be themselves. Threlth returned to his bridge. He gave the orders. The Federation fleet returned to the capital. The report was made. Speaker Velthorn called another emergency session of the council. The reaction was, as expected, chaotic. The ambassadors did not know how to process the news. 47 species suddenly had to accept that an entire civilization had been hiding from them for a millennium. A civilization with more advanced technology than they had. A civilization that had been listening to all their conversations. There was anger. There was fear. There was confusion. Some ambassadors wanted to send a military fleet to Earth immediately. Others wanted to send diplomatic missions. A few wanted to ignore the entire situation and hope it would go away. In the end, after 3 days of debate, the council voted. The decision was almost unanimous. 45 votes in favor of recognizing humanity as a sovereign and independent civilization. 2 votes against. The Krethar Dominion was condemned in absolute terms. Their 200-year campaign of secrecy and blackmail was exposed. Sanctions were imposed. Diplomatic relations were severed. The Krethar response was, as Commander Vincent had predicted, war. The Krethar Dominion declared war on humanity formally 3 weeks after the Federation vote. They mobilized their entire military, 5,000 warships, the largest fleet they had ever assembled. They came for Earth with everything they had. What happened next would be studied at Federation military academies for Yelenais, Srenches. Afterward, the Krethar fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. They expected to face the 47 weapon platforms. They had spent 3 weeks designing tactics to overwhelm those platforms. They believed that with 5,000 ships, they could swarm the platforms and destroy them through sheer numbers. They did not anticipate the fleet that emerged from Earth to meet them, 3,000 human warships, each one more advanced than anything the Krethar had built. Each one armed with weapons that should not exist. Each one piloted by humans who had been training for war for 1,000 years in absolute secrecy. The battle lasted 8 minutes. 5,000 Krethar warships were destroyed. Not damaged, destroyed, erased from existence. The Krethar Dominion's entire military was annihilated. There were no survivors among the Krethar fleet. There were no human casualties. After the battle, the human fleet did not stop. They continued forward. They jumped to faster-than-light travel. They headed toward Krethar space. The Krethar government begged the Federation to intervene. They begged for protection. They begged for peace. The Federation Council met to discuss the situation. Speaker Velthorn opened the session, honored members of the council. The Crethar Dominion has formally requested our intervention in their conflict with humanity. They claim that humanity is preparing to invade Crethar space. They request that the Federation protect them. Ambassador Fareth of the Aldorian Imperium spoke first. He was even older now than he had been at the previous session. He spoke slowly, carefully. Speaker Velthorn, the Crethar Dominion has been keeping a secret from the Federation for 200 years. They have been blackmailing a sovereign species. They have attacked that species with military force. When they were defeated, they declared open war. They mobilized their entire fleet to invade and destroy Earth. They failed. Now they request our protection from the consequences of their own actions. What is your recommendation, Ambassador Fareth? My recommendation, Speaker, is that we do nothing. The Crethar made their choices. They must live with the consequences of those choices. The Council debated this. The debate was brief. Most ambassadors agreed with Fareth. The vote was 44-3. The Federation would not intervene. Speaker Velthorn made the formal announcement to the galaxy. He spoke for the entire Federation when he said the words, "The Federation will not interfere in the conflict between humanity and the Crethar Dominion. The Crethar government must resolve their dispute with humanity directly. The Federation extends its sympathy for any losses the Crethar may suffer, but the Federation will not engage in this conflict." The human fleet arrived at the Crethar homeworld 6 days later. They did not bombard the planet. They did not destroy cities. They simply held position in orbit. They sent a single message to the Crethar government. "This is Earth Defense Command. We are here to discuss the terms of your surrender." The Crethar surrendered within hours. The terms were not what anyone in the galaxy had expected. Humanity did not take Crethar territory. They did not impose tribute. They did not demand reparations. They did not occupy Crethar worlds. The terms of the surrender were strikingly simple. The Crethar would dismantle their entire military. They would never again build warships. They would never again train soldiers. They would become a permanently demilitarized civilization, focused entirely on peaceful pursuits. Their government would issue a formal apology to humanity for 2 centuries of blackmail and aggression. The apology would be made public, broadcast across the galaxy. The Crethar would pay no other price. Their cities would not be touched. Their peoples would not be harmed. Their people would not be harmed. Their economy would not be damaged. They would simply lose the right to ever again be a military power. The Crethar accepted these terms gratefully. They had expected much worse. The Crethar Dominion was effectively dissolved as a military power within 6 months. They became, as humanity had required, a peaceful civilization. Their scientists turned to research. Their soldiers became farmers, builders, teachers. The transformation was actually beneficial to Crethar society in many ways, though it took the Crethar people generations to fully accept what had been done to them. The galaxy watched all of this with absolute attention. Humanity had been revealed. Humanity had been tested. Humanity had been proven. The new, most powerful civilization in the galaxy had handled its first major conflict with restraint and wisdom that surprised everyone. Other species began to approach Earth carefully. Trade missions were sent. Diplomatic relations were established. Cultural exchanges began. Humanity remained mostly isolationist, but they were no longer hidden. They were known. They were respected. They were feared in a careful, distant way. 3 years after humanity's revelation, Commander Sarah Vincent gave a speech at the Federation Council. She had become the official ambassador from Earth. She wore the same simple dark uniform she had worn at her first meeting with Admiral Threlth. "Honored members of the Federation Council," she began. 3 years ago, my people revealed themselves to you. We had been hidden for 1,000 years. We made the difficult decision to break our silence. because we believed it was time, because the galaxy needed to know us, because we could no longer pretend to be extinct, Dab Ades. In these 3 years, we have observed your reactions to our existence. We have been pleased by what we have seen. The Federation has welcomed us with restraint, with patience, with respect for our chosen independence. You have not tried to force us into your political structures. You have not pressured us into membership. You have allowed us to remain ourselves. For this, humanity is grateful. We thank the Federation Council. We thank Speaker Velthorn for his wisdom in handling our revelation. We thank the member species who have approached us as equals rather than as suspects. She paused. She looked around the chamber. Humanity will not join the Federation. We have no plans to do so. But we wish to formally announce that the Earth Defense Force will, when invited, provide assistance to Federation member species in matters of galactic security. We will not interfere in internal Federation politics. We will not seek to influence your decisions. But if any Federation member species is attacked by a hostile force, and they request our assistance, we will respond. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. The chamber broke into applause. 47 different species, in 47 different ways, expressing their approval. It was an unprecedented moment in Federation history. Speaker Velthorn stood bowed deeply to Commander Vincent. Ambassador Vincent, the Federation accepts this most generous offer. On behalf of the entire Federation, we welcome humanity back into the galactic community, not as a member of our political body, but as a respected peer civilization, a partner in the protection of galactic peace, and a friend. Vincent bowed in return. The session ended. Outside the chamber in the great public plaza of the Federation capital, statues had been erected over the past 2 years. One of them showed a human in simple clothing, holding a small wooden figure of a bird with its wings spread. The statue had been commissioned by Speaker Velthorn himself. The inscription at its base was short, "To the patient ones, who waited 1,000 years, who emerged not as conquerors but as guardians, who chose to defend instead of dominate. May we remember always what they showed us, that the strongest among us are not those who shout the loudest. They are those who can stay silent for 1,000 years and then speak with the voice of mercy when they finally appear." A small Velthari child looked up at the statue and pulled on her mother's robe. "Mother, who are these humans we have statues of? Why are they so important?" The mother smiled. She knelt down next to her daughter and pointed to the statue. "A long time ago, sweetheart, before you were born, before I was born, before even my mother was born, a species of beings called humans were almost destroyed in wars they fought against themselves. The galaxy thought they were gone forever, but they were not gone. They had only gone quiet. They had gone underground. For 1,000 years, they hid in the dark and they grew strong. I. Why did they hide? Because they were afraid, sweetheart. Afraid that if anyone knew they had survived, they would be invaded and taken over by other species. So they pretended to be dead. And while they pretended to be dead, they built things, powerful things, weapons more dangerous than anything anyone else had ever made, ships faster than anything anyone else had ever built, knowledge deeper than anything anyone else had ever discovered. They could have come out at any time and conquered the entire galaxy. But they did not. They did not. When they finally came out, they did not conquer anyone. They only protected themselves from a bad species that was hurting them. And then they offered to protect others too, if anyone needed help. So they are good. Yes, sweetheart, they are good. They had every reason to be angry at the galaxy that had thought them dead. They had every reason to want revenge. They had every reason to want power. But they did not choose any of those things. They chose to be patient. They chose to be kind. They chose to protect. That is why we have statues of them. That is why we have statues of them, to remember, so that we never forget what it means to be a good neighbor in the galaxy, so that our children and their children and their children's children will always remember what humanity taught us. What did they teach us, Mother? The mother thought for a long moment. She looked at the statue. She looked at the human figure, holding the wooden bird with its wings spread. She thought about the speeches she had heard, the history books she had read, the conversations with friends who had met humans personally, the trade missions to Earth, the cultural exchanges. They taught us, sweetheart, that the strongest beings in the galaxy do not have to be cruel. The most powerful weapons in the galaxy do not have to be used. The longest silence in the galaxy can be broken not with vengeance, but with mercy. That is what humanity taught us. The child nodded. She looked at the statue thoughtfully. Then she pulled a small object out of her pocket. It was a wooden carving, a bird with its wings spread. Her uncle had bought it for her last year when he had visited Earth on a trade mission. The humans had been selling these carvings in their markets. The bird represented a journey, the humans had said, a journey of going away and always coming home. The child held the carved bird up next to the statue. It was the same bird, the same wings, the same posture of going on a journey. Mother, the human in the statue, he is holding the same bird I have. Yes, sweetheart, the same bird. It is a very special symbol to humans. It means many things. Coming home, family, patience, hope, love. All of these things in a single small carving. The child looked at her bird for a long time. Then she put it back in her pocket carefully. I want to grow up to be like humans, she said. Patient, kind, strong but not cruel. Coming home to my family. The mother smiled. Then you will be a wonderful person, my daughter. Just like the humans. Just like they taught us all to be. They walked away from the statue, hand in hand. Behind them, the silver afternoon light of the Federation capital fell on the figure of the human holding the wooden bird, with its wings spread wide, going on a journey, always coming home. 1,000 years of silence had ended. 1,000 years of silence had ended. 1,000 years of patience had paid off. 1,000 years of waiting had finally brought humanity back to the galaxy they had once thought they would never see again. And in that return, they had not destroyed. They had not conquered. They had not taken vengeance. They had simply revealed themselves, defeated their enemies with restraint, and then offered their strength in service of those who needed it. The galaxy would remember, forever. And in the deep places under Earth, in the bunkers that had hidden humanity for 10 centuries, the lights were finally turned on. The doors were finally opened. The people came up to the surface for the first time in generations. They looked at the sky. They looked at the sun. They breathed the open air. They were home. They had always been home. The 1,000 years of silence had ended. And humanity, after the longest patience the galaxy had ever known, was finally free to walk in the light again, free to trade with other species, free to share their knowledge, free to build, free to grow, free to be themselves in the open. For the first time in a millennium, the blue planet on the outer rim of the galaxy was no longer a graveyard. It was alive. It had always been alive. The galaxy had simply needed to learn how to see it, and now the galaxy could see. The galaxy would always see. Humanity had returned. The story was complete, or perhaps it was only just beginning. But for now, the people of Earth walked under their own sun for the first time in 1,000 years. In 1,000 years. And the children played in the open fields, and the birds with their wings spread flew through the warm summer air. And the people remembered what it felt like to be home, in the light, with nothing to hide from anymore. Home, always home, after 1,000 years of silence, finally home. And the wooden birds, carved by patient hands during 10 centuries of waiting, sat in the pockets of children on 1,000 worlds, reminding everyone in the galaxy of a simple truth. Going away, coming home. That was what life was about. Humanity had spent 1,000 years away from the galaxy. Now they had come home. And the galaxy was better for it. And the future was bright. And the silence that had worried the wise was over. Forever the end. Or perhaps the beginning. Perhaps both. Time would tell, but the wooden birds flew on, and the children played in safe yards under warm suns. And the humans walked freely on the surface of their world for the first time in 1,000 years. That was enough. That had always been enough. That would always be enough for humanity, for Earth, for the long patient watchers who had waited so long, and who now were finally home, home, always home, forever and always home.